Hello, and welcome back to All About Genealogy. I'm Leslie.
And I'm Marie.
And this is our third episode in the series. And today we'll be talking about cemeteries. When to go, what to do, and what not to do, and what to bring with you to the cemetery.
And believe it or not, cemeteries are actually pretty fun when you start getting into genealogy.
Yeah, there's a lot of places to explore in cemeteries. So as far as planning your cemetery trip, make sure that you plan your trip for the spring. This is really important. Spring is the optimal season for this kind of outing. No bugs, it's not hot, it's not cold, there's no snakes.
And that's really important as you're going through the grass.
Right, absolutely. And the foliage on everything isn't really thick yet. Mm-hmm. So it's easy cleanup if, things have gotten out of control the latter part of the summer and then early spring. Another thing that you should be aware of when you're in the cemetery is please respect. Mm-hmm. Please respect mourning families. Please respect grave sites. I hate it when people tromp all over the grave sites.
I do too. I always avoid walking where I think the body is.
I know.
I just find it just very uncomfortable to be walking over people's grave sites.
Absolutely. So, also too, really important, if you create any trash, gum wrappers, cough drop wrappers, candy bar wrappers, bottles of water, please pocket your trash. The caretakers have enough to do, taking care of just normal maintenance. And it just makes the cemetery look better if there's not a lot of garbage laying around. So unless you're cutting the grass away from a marker or a tombstone, please don't touch the stone. I know a lot of different sites advocate cleaning the stone and doing this and that to the stone. It just makes me cringe. It makes me cringe when I hear that. So let's talk about a little bit about grave marker etiquette and the law. A lot of people don't know this. So you're searching for your great-grandmother's grave and, there's Agnes's grave. And you finally found it after looking for it for, all this time. And you pull out your phone to take a picture for your records. You take a couple pictures, you look at the pictures, and you can't make out what the stone says. There's just, either the writing isn't very deep anymore, the lighting isn't
There's
good.
a lot of shadows.
Right.
And over time, the print is not as prominent as it was when it was first printed. And so now you can't read the dates very well. And so you start moving all around the headstone to see, can I see it this way? And I've actually just taken pictures of multiple positions.
Right.
And you may have to do that.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah, so you're taking pictures, like we said, from all different levels, and the stones might be dirty, or the writing may be obstructed by some lichen, or and so what do you do when you can't get a clear picture? What do you do when that happens? Do you pull out tissue paper and do some tombstone rubbing?
Ooh, that's a no-no.
Do you pour detergent and water over the stone?
Scrub it?
And take a brush and start scrubbing away? No, please don't do that. That's so wrong on so many different levels.
And unfortunately, in our minds, that's how we're taught to clean. But again, this is not something that, it's not like our floors at home where we scrub. Right. Because remember, these tombstones are exposed to the elements, the beating sun, the rain,
Yeah.
up north the freezing cold. So we have to treat them very gingerly.
Yeah, they're prone to that freeze thaw thing, and if they get a crack with the freeze thaw, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you have to understand too that for most of the 1800s, sandstone was used.
That's very true, because it's
and-
easy to
Right.
carve.
Absolutely. But it's easy to carve, but it also flakes. It's
That's
also
right.
delicate. And then you get these people, I hate to say people, these people coming in with their little tissue paper and their crayons
Or their
chalk.
wax.
Oh my God. And they're rubbing the sandstone. And what happens is that it might not be immediately evident, but it will be soon. They're creating fissures and cracks that are going to flake off.
And also, you have to remember, too, that some headstones were made out of limestone.
Right.
And
Same
so
thing.
the limestone is layered. So it can just start crumbling with the pressure from doing that rubbing.
Right, because the way they did it is, if you look at the top of the tombstone, you could see the fracture points.
Right.
And so the whole front of the headstone could just slide right off.
Yeah, it's and not only is it going to ruin that, but it's also dangerous.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a large headstone, you don't want a big piece of limestone sliding off on your toe.
No. And while we're on the subject, let's talk a little bit about granite too. A lot of people think, granite's a rough surface, but what they do is they polish the front of it to get a nice glossy finish, and then they engrave it. But now you have people coming in and they're using sidewalk chalk of all things. Now, sidewalk chalk is more abrasive than regular chalk. If you wrote on a regular blackboard with sidewalk chalk, you would scratch the blackboard with it.
Yep.
Because it's so abrasive. It has to be, because you're writing on the sidewalk. And my point in talking about this also too is that it may be against the law what you're doing, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So, also too, some people rub flour. That's a new thing too, rubbing flour into the impressions so they could see it better. What they don't realize is that flour expands when it gets wet. So if there's a crack or a fissure in that stone and you've pressed flour into it, it's going to, over time, open that fissure.
And wouldn't you feel really bad that you went out to Great Aunt Susie's headstone and then you go back 10 years later and it's all in pieces?
Like the big corners falling off of it and you can't read it at all.
Yeah. So the best thing is just don't touch them. Leave it be unless you're an expert or you're well trained in proper care of headstones. And if you really need help, check out the office. Maybe there's someone there that can help.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're probably laughing about all this, and I don't blame you. It is kind of comical, but the headstones not being readable is not comical. But a lot of people do these things. And a lot more, flour, hot wax, scrapers. I've seen people out there with scrapers trying to scrape the moss and stuff
Or
off.
wire brushes.
Oh my God, that's even worse. And now there's commercial cleaning agents.
Yes.
Out on the market.
Yeah, we saw that at that conference we went to
absolutely.
a couple weeks ago.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And they advertise them saying that the cemeteries endorse these. No, they don't. I've never seen any cemetery endorse anybody doing anything to a headstone that was on their property. And it's just, it makes it unreadable for future generations when you're messing around with the stone and you degrade it. So every one of these things can land you in a lot of trouble. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that now. Cemetery caretakers, sextons, and even the law can take you to task for doing any of those things, for trying to clean, rub, or otherwise put stress on a stone. At the very least, you can be asked to leave the cemetery and, please don't return. At the most, you can receive a fine. So don't ever do this. Instead, do this. It's fairly simple and easy. Just use a mirror to catch the sun and shine the reflection on the stone. It's so simple. And it usually only works on a sunny day. But what do you do when it's not sunny? What do you do?
When it's not sunny, I just don't go.
Okay.
I try to plan my trips around the weather. I usually go out of town, and I just try to make sure that I have a couple of days to play with the sun. I try to get out there early, depending upon when the position of the cemetery and the headstones I'm hoping to see. Or maybe early in the morning. I try to plan it around that way. And usually the places I go are very small towns, so I can easily go by in the morning, and if it doesn't work, go by in the afternoon and work it that way.
Right. So what if that's not an option, though? What if you've taken a road trip and you're maybe 60 or 70 miles from home, you've taken a day trip, and, it was sunny in the morning when you left, but when you arrived at your destination, boom, cloudy, no sun. Mirror trick isn't going to work there. So I have an alternate solution that I've used, and it works every time. It's so simple. You're going to need a few things, though. And, I was going to bring my props with me, and I left them at home because, I'm me.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you're going to need for this is you're going to need a taper's light. You can buy them at any hardware store or builder supply store. What it basically looks like is a half, like a basketball cut in half. It's like the lights that photographers use. It's like a half of a circle, like a circle cut in half. And then go buy a black light bulb and put the black light bulb in it. You're going to need a long, one of those orange construction grade or yellow extension cords. Most cars now you can plug regular AC, into your car. You can buy adapters for that. So you can run off your battery. So you plug the extension cord into that. You plug the taper's light into that and the black light. And the black light, our generation is really familiar with black lights. We use them to decorate our bedrooms and, different rooms.
Or parties.
Yeah. And if you've ever been a girl or if you're a girl and you've ever gone into a bathroom at a party where they switched out the regular light for the black light, and then you look in the mirror and you freak out because there's this stuff all over your face.
Yeah, you wonder what's going on.
Yeah, it's dust and stuff that's just adhered to your face from the environment. Well, that's what happens too when you shine it on the headstone or the tombstone. It highlights all the dirt that's pressed into the carving of the stone.
And there will be dirt there, even though to the naked eye it looks clean.
Right.
The black light will pick up those details.
Right, absolutely. So that's another option for you. Taper's light, and walk into any hardware store, they'll know what you're talking about. So a taper's light, a regular black light bulb, which will run you about $7. Taper's light will run you about $6 or $7. And then the extension cords that you use to put up your Christmas lights, the orange or the yellow extension cords for outside.
And I have one of those car starters.
There you go.
And it actually has a plug inside. So just make sure that if you have one and it has a plug, just make sure it's charged up.
Absolutely. I used to have one and it died. Mine died. So now we just use the adapter for the car. So that's a really relatively inexpensive way, and you'll have it forever, and you'll use it for other things too, like to freak out your kids, replace their light bulbs in their bathroom and freak them out. So I also have a cautionary tale. I have a cousin, and I have many cousins, so I won't mention her name. But I have a cousin who likes to do, and has her whole life liked to do tombstone rubbings. And she just makes me cringe.
Interesting.
She's got like them stacked. It's just not.
Are these all family?
Mostly.
Okay.
Yeah, some of them are just interesting ones that she's come across.
Okay, she's not running through cemeteries doing rubbings.
No, well, okay. I don't know. She might be. I don't know.
And you know who you are.
Yes, you do know who you are. But she brought out this one particular rubbing that she did, and that's where you take the tissue paper and you take either crayon or chalk and rub hard to transfer, the print onto the paper, which is just not a good idea. Anyway, so she pulls out this one, and there was like 4 other pieces attached to it, and she said, I tried really hard to get this one rubbing, but I just couldn't get it. The stone kept flaking off.
And she didn't stop?
No.
She kept rubbing?
Yes.
Okay.
And she didn't even see what she said was wrong. She, and I pointed out to her that she's, ruining the stone. And what's the point of keeping rubbing it if it's flaking off? And it was obviously some kind of slate, because it was flaking off, and she just didn't get it. Some people won't get it, some people don't get it, but those people, trust me, those people will be getting tickets or be chased out
Escorted.
of cemeteries by the sextons. Because they don't like that.
That's one real big reason that I'm a big proponent for Find a Grave, Million Graves.
Right.
Because at some point, if we get enough people to go out to cemeteries and photograph those markers, then that way maybe people won't go out and do all of those rubbings and destroy history. Because I think of history, the cemeteries, as being history.
It's historical.
And you don't want to damage that. So before you even go out to a cemetery, go to Find a Grave. You might find what you're looking for on those websites.
That's absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, in conclusion, please be respectful. You can clear the grass and the weeds away from the headstone or from the marker in the ground, from the base of the stone, but please don't ever put anything on a stone or try and clean it. You'll be helping to degrade it, and that's not good for future researchers or for cemetery indexers who are just trying to do a favor for everybody, like Find a Grave or Billion Graves, or even your own great-grandchild later on.
I was going to say that.
May be looking for that grave, doing their own research, and they may be researching in your footsteps. So we hope this has been helpful. Please remember to comment down below and
make sure you give us thumbs up. And also, we would love to hear if you have some suggestions or some ideas for future videos.
Yes.
That way we can bring you things that you're interested in.
Right.
And we don't mind doing research, because that's what we do.
No, we don't. and you know what? I don't think we'll ever run out of topics, because this is genealogy and it goes on and on and on. But we want to know what you want to see, what you want to hear, topics that you want to talk about. So let us know. Don't forget to click the thumbs up and subscribe as well. Subscribe to our channel, and that way you'll be alerted every time a new video comes up.
Well, thank you for joining us. We hope that this was informative, and we hope that you will come back at our next video.
Right.
Where we're going to be talking about conferences.
Yes.
And educational opportunities.
Right. And remember, if you don't have source citation,
it's not genealogy.
Absolutely.